So there we go. And now I'll sort of kick us off by asking Wendy to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. I'm Wendy Hado, and I am a class of 2011. And I currently am working in the clean energy access space with an organization, nonprofit organization called CLASP. And I look forward to telling you all about my story, my career path, go a little bit more into the work that I'm currently doing in the energy access space, and as Kate mentioned before, looking to have a conversation or give you insight into how COVID-19 is impacting the work that we do. And hopefully I hope to answer any questions that anyone has with regards to how I got here or anything in regards to the work that I'm currently doing. So I'm super excited.
Thank you so much, Wendy. So Wendy, could you start off actually by just talking to us about sort of how you got to Dartmouth and then what you were up to when you were a student?
Yeah, sure. So back in 2007, I mean, I guess I can start from, I was born in Ghana in West Africa and moved to New York City at a pretty young age. I basically lived in the Bronx and went to Catholic school, and it was time for college, and I didn't know anything. I mean, I knew much about the college I wanted to apply, but I had no inkling or any background information about Dartmouth, except that Princeton Review told me to apply because it might be a good match for me. And so I put in my application and I got accepted, and I was super excited for the Dartmouth Dimensions to be on campus. Got a chance to meet the students, see how the programs are, and pretty much fell in love with the campus setting. Living in the city, I always knew that I wanted to go to a school that had a strong school spirit and also had its own campus that was not spread out as such as NYU, something to that extent. So I was pretty happy to be in Dartmouth, and so matriculated at 2007. And during my time at Dartmouth, I came in as a bio major, but quickly realized that biology was not quite for me. And so I talked to the counselors and, first year guide to determine what kind of courses I might be interested in. And I started to take, I was very intrigued with just, culture, and also just with diversity and just understanding the anthropological ways that society work. And so I took a lot of courses in anthropology. That became my major. But I also knew that I had the international, I thought back then, or knew back then, that at some point in my career, I would love to be in an international space, given that technically I have like an international background. And so one of the things that I realized was that taking economics will be a great supplement to my cultural studies. And so this ended up with my degree, which was anthropology modified with economics. And on campus, I spent a lot of my time. I joined the Dartmouth Gospel Choir. So that was a really great group to be part of on campus. Did a little bit of club tennis and here and there. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my experience at Dartmouth in 2011, graduated, and came out into the real world. Here I am still, so.
Here you are. So when you were like, you started to approach graduation, it was kind of like coming like closer and closer and closer to your line of sight. I'm wondering like how you were approaching that. Were you stressed out? Were you not stressed out? How did you sort of start to line up a next step after graduation, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, definitely vividly remembered senior year. I quite didn't have a plan set up yet. I had various internship when I was in campus. I volunteered with the Dartmouth Humanitarian Engineering during my junior summer. And during my off term, I actually also worked in a law firm. So I was debating between whether I wanted to go in the public sector with development or the legal field. And I think that when you're graduating, there's always immense pressure of trying to decide the career path you want to take. And just looking at my colleagues, you know, people, at least in my friends network, seemed pretty set on where they were going to go. And I was just freaking out just a little bit. And so I graduated just not without a clear plan, but I thought that I had a strong interest in the legal field. And so I was able to network with another Dartmouth colleague, actually, who was in my class, and landed a job in New York City working at a small law firm that was focused on public litigation for class action suits. So it was still within the public realms, but it was focused on how to ensure that, you know, companies or organizations are not discriminating against their employees, or, you know, the employees on the basis of gender, race, or religion, or to that extent. And so I was a legal assistant in the small firm for the first year out of college, but also quickly realized that it wasn't quite the right fit for me, and that's okay. And I think it was a little bit scary at that point to realize that I didn't really like law, because then it was like, okay, then what exactly did I want to do moving forward? And one of the things that I did was talk to a lot of alums. I basically pulled up the Dartmouth alumni directory and called a lot of alums to understand what kind of job you're doing. And I also got advice to think about the experiences that I had while in college, because sometimes, you know, that helps you to understand what fields suit you better. And I think one of the things that stuck out a lot that I realized I really enjoyed was my time with the Dartmouth Humanitarian Engineering, focused on improved cook stoves, just being on the field, being able to tackle like real world problems that had big impact and implications for communities that don't have basically anything. And that was sort of led me to want to, given the fact that we were working on indoor pollution and also tackling the environmental problems at the same time, I decided that I wanted to gain more knowledge and go to grad school in public health. And so, and in that during that time span, you know, like I said, talked to a lot of alums, and then decided to narrow my search to alums that are currently in the environmental space too, just to get a sense of how to, what, you know, what aspect they like about it, what is exciting, and what's going on. And so that definitely helped me, and I would definitely encourage anyone who's at this point to utilize the great network that Dartmouth has. There are tons of people that are doing really cool stuff and really innovative. And I recall, I don't think I ever got a no, which was really great. Everyone was willing to help me or talk to me just for a little bit, just to understand where I was going. And so just going back to that, so decided the league was not for me, and went to grad school. I applied and got into George Washington University. So moved to DC in the summer of 2012. Started taking my public health courses, and in that experience, or in that classroom education, is where I sort of developed a strong interest in the environment and the impact on population health. I remember we had a course that was focused on climate change and how it people don't realize, you know, the implications on health and just like community. And I just remember getting super excited about going to the class and learning more about it, because I didn't really have that environmental background training at all. And so at GW, I decided to switch my track into the environmental health science policy track. And like I said, at that point, whenever sort of I make a big decision in career, I always like to talk to others just to get a sense of others in the field, just to get a sense of the fit for me. So I tapped into the Dartmouth network at DC and actually ended up talking with a Dartmouth 5 who was at that point working in the district department, the District of Columbia Department of Energy and Environment. And so after expressing my interest and wanting to be more involved in climate change policy and activities, he was able to get me an internship within the Urban Sustainability Administration Group, where I came on as an intern that was going to that was focused on climate change mitigation. So my role at the DOEE was basically to update the greenhouse gas inventory for the District of Columbia. The last time it was updated when I was there was about 2 years ago. And I think that they wanted to track how the policies that they have been implemented under the city plan called Sustainable DC. And I was able to, gain skills just like working with different stakeholders from all sectors to ensure that we can have an updated greenhouse gas inventory. So, yes, I don't know if I actually went past the question you were trying to say, but.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. So, but you've almost gotten us to the present day. So just, I guess, one more hop, skip, and a jump. So how did you get from working for the District of Columbia to your present position?
Yeah, and so my experience at DOE definitely helped me to, like I was saying, get a lot of experience just with project management, but also with stakeholder and community engagement. A lot of my task and responsibility included like liaison with different departments to gather data, and also so that's where I guess a little bit of data analysis comes into it. Actually, lots of data analysis comes into it, and so being able to be part of this team to put out an update and report on all the policies was really great. And from that from that actually exercise that we did, it came out that 70% of greenhouse gas emissions at that point back in 2014 at that point, yeah, back in 2014, we're coming from building use. So it looks like a lot of buildings were inefficient. And that kind of made a little bit of sense given that DC is a very, it's an old town, well, not town, but it's an old district and there are a lot of old buildings. And I think that even though there's a lot of development going on right now, there's still some inefficiencies that need to be addressed to make sure that district ratepayers are choosing more energy efficient solutions. And so given that, I wanted to delve a little bit deeper into that. And so I switched from the DOEE and started working at the district sustainable energy utility. And in most states, the energy efficiency policy is carried out by the utility. But in the District of Columbia, basically the council got together and said that, we understand that energy efficiency kind of goes a little bit against the business model of a utility. So we want to set up a independent third party utility to sort of manage that program. And so that's what the district sustainable energy utility was focused on, primarily using a little bit of ratepayers' tax money to that amounts into a pool, and basically we reward or incentivize, buildings, households, and commercial buildings to undertake energy efficiency retrofits and project. So that's where I started to hone in more on energy efficiency and understanding it. I think it's sometimes, as we think about it, renewable energy is definitely one step of way to mitigate climate change. But then with energy efficiency, it's very less. You don't need a lot of resources because it's basically energy that you're not using, which is great and tends to be cheaper. And so that I got a little bit more specialized in that field, just helping businesses and households to move towards more energy efficient, more towards energy efficient. What is it called? What would you call it? I guess, behaviors, and also just like, under more energy efficient solutions. And so in that realm, I was at the DCSU for close to 3 years. And I think I go through this thing where like every 3 years I start to like assess where I am and, where I would like to specialize. And so I definitely at that point at DCSU realized that thinking about just climate change and who's going to impact and where it's going to be worse, I definitely knew that it was going to be international under-resourced communities that don't have any energy infrastructure set up or developed, or any policies that would help to ensure that that the energy market's being regulated. And so I knew that it was time to go into the international scene. And one of the ways that I wanted to make that transition, or one of the ways that helped make that transition, was through networking and just picking up resources on my own. So my work allowed me to do a lot of local based stuff, but on the side, like I would start to read newsletters and subscribe to newsletters, subscribe to network groups that are out there that are focused on international energy efficiency projects, especially within clean energy access. And so in that work was where I applied for a young professional leadership program called the CLI, so Clean Energy Leadership program called CLI. And CLI basically is a 12-week program that allows young professionals from all across the clean energy access space. So, you could be in finance, you could be in policy, you could be in a nonprofit, and it allows us all to come together and we take a course each week that is facilitated by someone, an expert in the field. So it's sort of like you get to learn about it, and then you get to ask questions. You get to like learn a little bit more about what's going on in real time. And so that was a very helpful and really instrumental network to be part of, because I met individuals that were working in clean energy access, especially within the national field, talked to a couple of them and let them know my interest in jumping into the field. So I second past, alumni that have been here that have told you all to don't be afraid to let other people know your interest, like take the time, because you never, most people are receptive and are willing to help you in that end. And so and that conversation led to my colleague at CLASP letting me know about a vacant opportunity, which I applied and got in. And so now I currently work with the clean energy access team focused on using energy efficiency to enable low income and very much underprivileged households and communities to gain access to electricity, life-saving electricity.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for that really like detailed and thoughtful response. I think that something that a lot of people, myself included, often don't appreciate is the fact that so many people in their careers sort of like jump from one thing to another, and this transition that you made between, going to grad school for public health and then switching to a more environmental track and then working for, like as a public servant for the District of Columbia, and then actually ending up working for a nonprofit in the international space. I don't think a lot of students would like anticipate that would be a career path that a Dartmouth graduate would have, because there's this expectation of linearity that I think every time I talk to alums is like, it just isn't borne out in people's experiences.
Yeah, and it's all, at the end of the day, it's all very much connected to each other. Energy access improves and has an impact on people's health, and that's one of the things that, I guess this lends into exactly the kind of work that I'm doing right now. So CLASP is, and I guess I didn't give a little bit of introduction to CLASP, but it's a environmental and energy performance equipment nonprofit that is focused on improving the environmental performances of the everyday appliances that we use. So we serve at the epicenter of collaborating with government and with experts and in industry and with consumers and donor organizations to drive the energy, to drive the off-grid off-grid, meaning people that don't have access to electricity at all, off-grid appliance market towards high quality and more affordable means. And so at CLASP, what I do is that I manage the Global Leap Awards program. And a Global Leap Awards program, it's basically uses a competition approach to identify and recognize high quality and high efficient as well as affordable appliances that, affordable appliances that allow solar housing system-based distributors to provide and add to their portfolio of appliances to enable communities to gain access to these life-saving energy appliances. And so when you think about something to that end about, so far, I guess just to go back, so far our program has looked at LED light rooms and TVs. We've looked at fans. We've done competition rounds on fans, on refrigerators, on currently we're working on refrigerator and also electric pressure cooker. So we're going into the clean cooking scene, which kind of ties back to a little bit of the work that I was doing on DHE. So I'm so excited about that. And we've focused a lot on cooling and refrigeration. So we've done cold chain, off-grid cold chain challenges that are focused on, how do we come up with an efficient cold room equipment that can be deployed in the field to help to ensure that, to reduce food waste and also ensure that low income farmers are able to, or farmers in general are able to get their products to market without having to lose any income in that sort of sense. And so everything is just like sort of tied to each other because like access to a refrigerator has like, has health implications or impacts. Like it has ripple effect in that sort of sense because you now have access to an appliance that can allow you to now go buy bulk food. So you don't have to keep, especially for women and children, you don't have to keep going back and forth to the market to buy this food. It preserves the food for a long time. If you have medication, a cooling equipment allows you to keep that medication in a safe environment. And it also sometimes generates as another source of income for people that don't have another source of income so that people can make, so people can make a little bit more money on the side because now you can have a small business that's probably selling like water or selling other foods that might be great for economic development. And so, and energy, everything in a sense is just all comes together. And sometimes when people tell me, well, you're not definitely in a public health scene, I'm like, I definitely feel like I am because I am treating the primary problem, which is climate change. And, you have public health experts that are treating the tertiary, which is, all the effects that come from probably exposure to, polluted air or like increasing as gas, in our environment.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I really appreciate that answer. And actually the next question I was going to ask was, how does energy efficiency enable energy access and improve livelihoods? I feel like you've touched on that to a really great extent in that the refrigeration and having access to a fan or like a television or, these other appliances are actually really like, they are making, economic mobility possible. They're making better health possible. But, is there anything else you wanted to add to answer that question?
Yeah, so I guess it would be that the whole energy access, energy efficiency and access is a lot of that movement is like focused on achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goal, which is Goal 7, which is access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable and modern energy for all by 2030. And currently we have about under 800 million. Actually, I think the latest statistics from the International Renewable Agency is 789 million still live without access to electricity. And what happens is that with renewable, with energy efficiency, we're able to invest in activities, we're able to invest in technologies that are able to develop modern energy services for off-grid populations. So there are currently populations that there's no way that, you know, it will be cost effective to have utilities, you know, develop transmission lines to enable them to gain access to electricity at all. And so it kind of falls on the off-grid community, mostly driven by solar, to come up with to design and come up with appliances that are off-grid appropriate and can use less energy, because we want to focus on less energy in the sense that less energy means that you don't need a lot of the power source to power the equipment, and also in that sense it makes it cheaper for people that need it the most to gain access to these technologies. And so energy efficiency basically has all these ripple effects, as I was mentioning before, and, you know, allows economic development, improvement of livelihoods, and also allows people to finally gain access to something that is, gain access to life-saving appliances. So.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I'm wondering, sort of in this vein of like the overall goals and the mission of this work and this movement, can you talk about some of the successes and challenges that you've seen or that you've encountered?
Yeah, so I think in the field, I guess going back to the field of energy access, 10 years ago, we were at 1.2 billion people that didn't have access to electricity at all. And currently that number, as I mentioned before, is a little under 800 million. And it's just really quite a success to know that, you know, the progress made by off-grid energy companies have led to about 470 million people in the last decade to move from the darkness into sort of like into a little bit of modern day living a little bit. So it's really great to see that there's a lot of companies now that are looking into the technology, and that's what we try to do a lot at CLASP, is to drive attention and to drive the market to invest in these technologies. And I think that it's been wonderful to see the space grow and to garner attention. But as it moves forward, it seems that one of the challenges that we continue to face is just affordability and resources. So resources in a sense that this market still needs a lot of investments from donors and from multilateral organizations to ensure that these efforts that we're making will be sustainable. And also that translates into affordability for, you know, the consumers, because, you know, if we're not able to drive innovation and get these appliances to become more affordable, it becomes hard to get them to the people that need it the most. And so that's definitely one of the challenges that I've observed since I started working in the space.
So given that the investment or lack thereof or need for more investment is one of the sort of key challenges that you're experiencing in this space, what have the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and the attendant economic crisis had on what you envision to be the future of this work?
Yeah, so one of the things about the COVID-19 is that it has sent a massive shock to societies and economies around the world. And it's basically threatened to reverse some of the enormous growth and progress that the off-grid energy companies have seen. Because of a lot of the lockdowns that happen, and, you know, a lot of the border closures that happen and social distance measures being put into place, you have companies that basically have to stop their businesses. And so they're not able to get to send people, they're not able to get the appliances out to consumers as they would have been able had, you know, is there free movement around. it definitely put a stop to a lot of their forecast sales because people were not buying anymore as they used to. And it definitely sent a lot of companies basically experienced financial losses. And actually an NDEV 2020 survey that recently came out just showed that 75% of the companies in the off-grid energy space say that if the pandemic continues to go as is, they might come to a point where they might not able to be recovered from all, because one of the things about this market is that it requires a lot of resource being going into it. And so when you have resource going into it, but there's no outputs anymore, or you can't deploy these outputs, it definitely puts you in the negative. And so for the end consumer side, you have people that have to cut back, of course, in their ability to pay for a lot of these equipment. So one means that these equipment are being deployed on the field is like through pay as you go. And during the lockdown, people had to, people are not allowed to go to work anymore, and they're all have to stay home. And some people definitely lost their jobs. And so that definitely affected people's ability to pay for these appliances. And that has other consequences because, that leads into, let's say, access to a fridge or to like a TV. You're not able to see what's really going around in your neighborhood. You're not able to get access to events that are around. You're not able to really get food and for a while without having to, it's not being preserved in that sort of sense. And so it definitely affected the consumers just as much as it affected the companies. But one of the things that came out is that, the survey also revealed that a lot of these people value these equipment so much that most of them are dipping into their savings account that they have, or any sort of like savings they have accumulated to ensure that they continue to gain access to this. So I think one of the things that we're trying to drive a lot out there is to show that value of these equipment and appliances for these people, and how we can get more immediate grants to help these solar-based companies and also manufacturers that are out there.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I really appreciate all of your patience with my many questions and your amazingly detailed and thoughtful responses. I just have one more question for you before we turn it over to the students. And that is actually a question on behalf of the students, which is that if someone's listening right now and they're interested in the work that you do, and they're thinking they might want to investigate like an internship or a job after graduation, what are some skill sets that you think would be useful for them to acquire or to market as they're trying to enter this space?
Yeah, one of the things that, so in terms of marketing, I would say the biggest thing is to definitely do a lot. I mean, being prepared for the job by just doing lots of reading about the space. Just getting to know what's going on in the industry definitely helps to sell you as a great candidate when you're doing a lot of interviews. And one of the things I would focus on, based on just coming from the perspective of my role, is just being able to effectively deal with different people, so different cultures, different backgrounds. So I guess that feeds into just how it helps you to do a better job of project managing with different stakeholders that might have different needs and different requirements and different reporting to do. Definitely being quick to adapt to environments and different settings, because given COVID-19, we had to deploy and do a lot of reporting and so just being able to be quick on your feet to work in that environment will be great, definitely, for you to have. And just a passion for, I would definitely say the biggest thing for me that I look for in candidates are just passion for the field and being willing to just learn and help others in just all the tasks that might be out there. So I would definitely say for students to hone in on that.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I'll now stop driving this bus, and I'll turn it over to the students for the question and answer. So the way that we're going to run this is that we'll ask you all to just unmute yourselves and just ask your questions at will. Don't feel the need to put anything in the chat. The microphone is handed over to you. So whenever you're ready, unmute yourself and just start peppering Wendy with all the questions that you've been asked while you've been hearing her share all of these like really interesting stories and insights.
Hi, I have a quick question. I'm Julia. I'm a 21.
Julia.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been a pleasure to hear you speak about your experiences. I guess I just have a quick question about kind of a day in the life at CLASP. I know you spoke before about really loving engaging with stakeholders and kind of being on the ground. So do you travel to these communities yourself? Or are you kind of more a high level project manager kind of role? I guess I'm just curious kind of daily, I guess everything has changed too with working remotely, but typically what does your role look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I would say typically my role encompass a lot of communications. So on a typical day when I go into the office, I'm basically responding back to one of the things is that because we work in an international space, we tend to receive a lot of emails in the early morning time where we're all here still asleep. And so when I go into my inbox, it's just swallowed up with all these different requests and inquiries that I have to respond to. So a lot of my time is just spent on answering those. And then it just goes back to looking at the program and where we are, what stage we are, and trying to facilitate the next step. So that might be working cross, that might entail just working cross teams to understand where they are, and then being able to help my teammates understand the next steps that we have to do. So sometimes I would also host webinars, or more so like meetings, but it's not webinar because it's a small niche that we work in. And so I hold technical working groups where we bring stakeholders all together. So we give them the different time zones that they all have to show up at the same time, and then facilitate conversations on the technologies. So let's say we do currently have a technical working group that's focused on refrigeration. We have one that is focused on solar water pumps. We have one that is now focused on electric pressure cookers. And so sometimes we have to put all of them together. This doesn't happen too frequently, but here and there we'll get together and have a 90 minutes conversation, because these conversations can go on for a long time when you have different people that have different experiences and different experts on the line. And so that would be most of my time at work, and just doing also developing a lot of the outputs that we need to deliver from to our donors. And so just doing monthly reporting, like monitoring and evaluation a little bit to that end, and responding to research inquiries and that sort of sense. But yes, you do get a chance to go to the communities that you are working in. I've actually been able to travel twice to Kenya, to Nairobi so far, to see the technologies that we are helping to scale in these markets and the impacts that it's having on people and consumers and families out there. And traveling also allows you to, so most of the time you do find stakeholders that are more internationally based, and so you're able to talk to them in real time versus having that time gap that comes through like being over here. But now with COVID, of course, we're all working from home, so it's been a lot of video conferencing, a lot of just emails, communication going on.
Great, thanks so much.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Wendy, this is Janet Warren. I work at Dartmouth College. I love hearing all of the wonderful stories of our recent alums and our students that are working. Whoops, there go my dogs. So
No worries.
we live on a farm, and our house was built in 1776, and we do a lot of things here, kind of what I would call the old-fashioned way. I was canning earlier tonight, and I'm wondering, have you looked to some of the technologies that the Amish are using? They're using solar, you know, they don't want to be on the grid. They have pretty high-tech stuff that works well. And, you know, they're living as if they were 150 years ago. So I'm wondering if we're looking to some of those technologies that are still being used today by people here in the US and actually are pretty effective and efficient.
Thank you for that, Janet. So I would say we have not, well, at least in my role, have not looked at domestic technologies that are being used on the field because a lot of, well, the work that we're doing have, you know, the money that we get to work or the funding that we get is very specific and the technologies that we have to address. And so we tend to focus on that. But then we do have, so my field in clean energy access is very much focused on, you know, the off-grid community, but we do have the on-grid department or side of CLASP that is focused on energy efficiency, like all over the world, and not just on off-grid communities like I do. So I'm pretty sure that a couple of my team members probably know a lot more about this than I do, but unfortunately, in the off-grid community, it's focused on basic, what we consider to be, you know, basic life-saving appliances so far. And yeah, and using also solar too, a lot of solar.
Yeah, as an example, you know, the Amish still use ice houses for refrigeration, or they use what we would call a chest freezer, but they put block ice that they put in their ice house in the winter after they've cut it. You know, so it's kind of interesting to.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like the same thing as, so one of the, it's not just, sometimes like, you know, for the refrigerator, let's say something like that, we have thermal cooling refrigerators that sometimes are just like blocks of ice, like within a container. So I guess there's like there's some symmetries there, but yeah, I think it's connected in the sense of like the cold chain rooms that, you know, are supposed to keep post-harvest, like, you know, goods like in a cool environment. And so I wonder if that's like sort of like where it overlaps, but I'm definitely know there's technologies that just looks at, okay, well, if we're not able to design for it to be powered by solar, then we can look at thermal cooling instead.
Thanks so much. Are there other questions that people have?
Who are your funders, Wendy? What kind of people are funding you?
Yeah, so a lot, well, in the clean energy access side, definitely we've had funders from a lot from the DFID, so basically the UK development, its national development arm. We have the NDEF, which is sort of like a group of donors that are in Europe, basically all from Europe. And we have, you know, like within my program is within the Efficiency for Access. And that is a group of like 15 donors from UKA to USAID to, you know, Power Africa to IKEA Foundation that are all focused on using energy efficiency to enable access to energy. So we definitely have, and I know on the policy side that is focused more on climate change policy of CLASP, we have several funders that are both domestic and international. But I can follow up with you, Janet, too, which is like specifics on all of them if you want.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that the students on the call who have questions, especially about jobs and internships and sort of getting into this space, have a chance to ask them. So students, if you have questions that you want to ask, I'm making space for you now.
I can answer any questions. And one of the things that we always at CLASP looking for interns. We actually had a 21 or 20, yeah. Forget his class, but we had a 20 intern with us last summer, and definitely had a great time doing a lot of different exciting projects, you know, analysis and dashboard creation and other creative means too. So one of the thing in class was that we do welcome everyone in different fields to definitely look into energy efficiency. We can use, you know, if you're good at taking pictures or if you're good at writing, we all need to just get people in the field to tell the story. And one of it is through communication, you know, through people that, you know, if you're very much into the technical side of it, definitely there's a place for you and there's a place for everyone. So I would say if you're also interested in any work at CLASP or any aspect, definitely feel free to contact me. We're always looking for interns. Paid interns, we pay.
And I can put anyone in contact with Wendy after the call if you just shoot me an email. It looks like Maria raised her hand. Maria, do you want to ask a question?
Yes. Hi, Wendy. My name is Maria, and I'm a 21, and I'm interested in like the energy space. I'm curious how important you think, or like helpful, your master's degree was in like entering this field after you originally started out in law.
Yeah, I think for me, it was definitely, I think it was, I know definitely there are colleagues that don't have a master's working at CLASP, but I feel that for me personally, it helped me to reorient myself in a field that I had really not had much interaction or engagement with when I was in college. And so it just brought me to terms with like what is going on and allow me to build that, I guess that training and background to allow me to effectively also network in the space. And so definitely, I mean, like I said, it's not, you don't need it, but it's definitely very helpful to have within the space.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wendy, if I could actually impose on you for just another question, one thing I was curious about earlier, when you were describing the different appliances that CLASP works to like evaluate and certify and promote if they're exceptional. I'm wondering if you see those as like all sort of equal players that are helping people out with different aspects of their lives, or are there some that you see as like much more critical and like everyone should have these appliances, and then there are some that are more like a great addition and a great, like, you know, something that will help with economic mobility but may not be like necessary for you know, for like less life-saving, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, how do you see that landscape?
I definitely see them as all on the same playing field because they all have different impacts on people's life. Let's say, you know, people tend to think of TVs or fans to be a luxury item, but in the off-grid community, you know, TVs provide, like as I was mentioning before, TVs provide people a sense of security. You know, like mothers, like we've had consumer surveys where mothers, do let us know that, having an access like now keeps the children at home, and they feel a little bit more safer because they know that their kids are home and they're not out there running around. And just, for a fan, it's very helpful to have, especially during like places that are susceptible to like heat waves. And so we actually get a lot of fan sales in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh has like, a very high temperature, and it's very hot environment over there. And so access to like a fan allows, has this health impact where, you can effectively be at home and not, have any fall into like any heat waves to that extent. Electropressure cooking, definitely. We're looking the clean cooking scene is definitely has garnered a lot of attention because of a lot of its gender equity and empowerment implication. Because, if you look at if you look at cooking itself, it traditionally falls under the responsibilities of girls and women in these communities. And, the WHO reports that, about, a lot of, so far close to like, 3 billion people have died from like indoor air pollution. And so if we're able to, develop an EPC, a clean cooking pressure that, is powered by solar, and then so that will lead to time savings. It will lead to drudgery relief for women, so they don't have to spend lots of hours doing, the same thing over again. And also it will lead to more like improved economic development, in the sense that now they have time to focus on working on other stuff. And so all these different appliances have its unique impact, and they're all sort of tied together. And so within the scale of which one would be is the most pressing or a priority, I would probably say all of them are.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Wendy. That was very instructive and clarifying.
Thanks, Brandon.
We have time for just time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions from folks, and then we'll sort of start wrapping up. So I guess speak now or forever hold your peace.
Or you can also contact me. I'm definitely open to talk a little bit more in depth about the work that we're doing.
Any other questions? The tough thing, Wendy, is that you answered all of our other questions so thoroughly that I'm sure there's so much more ground to cover, but from our inexperienced perspective.
Yeah, I do have a lot more to say. And I hope that when I said about my day-to-day, it doesn't sound that boring, because I find it's super exciting in the sense that, you get to just talk with different groups that are around the world trying to tackle the same problems. And it's definitely encouraged. I mean, definitely working at CLASP, the senior management team and the organization definitely welcomes ideas. And, we're able to, everyone is accessible and pretty much very intelligent people that we're working with. And so you get to have really great conversations. So you get to learn a lot. For someone who doesn't have a technical background, I am learning a lot about how these, technologies work. And, with my understanding of just the cultural impact, it's just really great to understand that, well, like if you tweak this aspect of this, feature, it can like lead to this improvement that can enable, a family or a household to access and gain access to energy. So I definitely think that it's great all around in terms of like the things that we're doing.
Thank you so much, Wendy. And I think that's actually a really perfect note to end on. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, for taking time out of your week to come to this session. I really want to thank Wendy. It's been like truly a pleasure to get to know you and to host you tonight, and learned so much from you, and certainly hope to be able to continue this relationship.
Thank you, Janet.
Just before we sign off, Wendy, I'll give you a minute at the end to sort of provide any closing remarks or goodbyes that you have. But I'm asked by my office's communications manager to share some upcoming events while we have everyone on the line. So hopefully you can see my screen right now. Next Wednesday, this is actually not an Irving Institute event, but the Thayer alumni office is having a panel with 3 Dartmouth engineers who are working in the energy industry. I'm actually signed up for this. This one looks really good. Not that like others don't look good, but this looks awesome. And I think folks who are interested should really consider joining. Next Wednesday, we have our last Alumni Sparks of the term with Kate Bowman, who works for Utah Clean Energy. And then on Wednesday, August 12th, this lunch seminar series, the New Energy series, is hosting Destiny Knock from Carnegie Mellon. So if you're interested in any of these, just go to our website and consider signing up. And with that, Wendy, I'll turn it back to you to just share any closing remarks that you might have.
I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming today and hearing about my career path and what I'm currently doing right now. It definitely, when you think about the task of bringing energy to over a billion, like a million of people, like hundreds of millions of people, it can seem a little bit daunting in how we can really achieve that. But just thinking back to, an article I read that compares like SpaceX to the efforts that's going on in the clean energy access space, is that you just cannot give hope that, you can develop an innovative way and you can come up with an innovative structure and develop the technology that would allow, whatever goal or mission that you're trying to accomplish to be achievable. So definitely we need all hands on board, and we definitely want to ensure that, we're driving and we're building a better world, not just for us, but for a lot of people that currently don't have anything. So I welcome everyone, as I said before, anyone, no matter the field you're in, if you're in energy, if you're in writing, if you're in picture taking, anything to join us on this mission that we're trying to accomplish.
All right. I couldn't even imagine anyone could say it better. Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you all for joining us. And have a great evening.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.